All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to talk about maybe the most fundamental concept in all of computer networking. I'm talking about that hidden number that makes your entire online world possible, the IP address. So think about it for a second. You've got your email address, your home address, your favorite website, but what's the one address that's the most important for making the whole internet actually, well, work?
Yep, you guessed it. It's the IP address. And you can think of it like the invisible plumbing of the digital world. You don't see it, right? But without it, nothing, and I mean nothing, flows. If you really want to get how the internet works, you've got to start right here.
Okay, I know this can sound a little technical or complicated, but honestly, the best way to wrap your head around it is with something we all get, just sending a plain old letter.
You know how it works, right? Super simple. You write your message, you stick it in an envelope, and then, and this is the key part, you write the specific house address on the front. That's how the mail carrier knows exactly where it's supposed to go.
And here's where it gets really cool. This whole process maps perfectly to the digital world. That message you wrote, online, that's what we call a data packet. And that all-important house address, well, that's the IP address. It's the unique destination for every single bit of data zipping across the internet. Okay, so let's stick with this mail analogy, because it gets even better. What if you're not sending a letter to a house? What if you're sending it to someone in a huge apartment building? This one little tweak to our story explains the two main types of IP addresses perfectly. So first up, you've got the public IP. Think of this as the main street address for the entire apartment building. It's the one single, unique address that the rest of the world sees. And this address is given to your router by your internet service provider, your ISP. And then you've got the private IPs. These are the apartment numbers inside the building. Apartment 4B, apartment 12C. Your router is the one handing these out to everything inside your home. Your phone, your laptop, your smart TV. They only make sense inside your local network. And it's how all your devices talk to each other and get out to the internet through the router.
But there was a huge problem with this system. A problem that was pretty much inevitable. See, the original version of IP addresses, which we call IPv4, was created way back in the day, long before anyone dreamed that billions and billions of devices would be online. And, well, we just ran out of addresses, plain and simple.
So the old system, IPv4, that's the one you've probably seen with the 4 sets of numbers. The new system, IPv6, looks way more complicated. It's this long string of letters and numbers. And the reason we had to switch is pretty straightforward. We completely ran out of IPv4 combinations. IPv6, though, it gives us a supply of addresses that is, for all intents and purposes, pretty much infinite.
And just to give you an idea of the scale we're talking about here, it's just wild. The number of IPv6 addresses is so ridiculously massive, you could give a unique IP address to every single grain of sand on planet Earth, and you'd still have tons left over. It's a mind-boggling number.
Okay, so this is all kind of neat, but why should you care? Why does this actually matter? Well, because getting this one concept is what takes you from being just an internet user to someone who can actually understand what's going on and even start to troubleshoot when things go wrong.
All right, picture this. Your internet's out. You're getting frustrated. Nothing will connect. When a network engineer shows up, what's the very first question they're going to ask?
It's always this. Does it have an IP? Because think about it, if your device doesn't have an address, it can't get any mail. It's just cut off from the network. It is always the first checkpoint. And here's a pro tip. Sometimes your device will actually give you a clue that this is the problem. If you ever see an IP address that starts with 169.254, that's not really an address. That is your computer literally throwing its hands in the air and screaming for help. It's telling you, hey, I tried to get a real address, but I failed. And this is the whole point. This knowledge completely changes how you see the problem. A user sees some random connection error and just thinks, the internet is down. But someone who gets IP addresses, they see a device screaming for help, and they start asking the right questions, like, is the DHCP server on the router working? That's the thing that hands out the addresses. See the difference? You're not just seeing the symptom anymore. You're looking for the actual cause. So there you have it. Now you know what the internet's most important address is all about. You get the difference between public and private, and you know why it's the very first thing to check when something goes wrong. But that kind of leaves us with one more giant question, doesn't it? In this huge global system, who's actually in charge of handing out all these numbers? We'll dig into that next time. Thanks for joining me.